And welcome to another episode of Generation Sports. You know what time it is. Let's kick it. That's right. We're back and better than ever. I got my boy Terry over here with me today, co-hosting. As always, hit me up at Monster on the Mic. And we're going to do a little bit something different today. We decided we are going to do a little mock draft. We were just kind of sitting around bored, wanting something to do. So we're going to do it in a similar format to what our league is, which is, go ahead and tell them, Terry.
So we have a league where we play 12-man PPR league, 6-point touchdowns. What is it? 17 rounds.
Yeah.
And then we have one quarterback, two running backs, three receivers, a flex spot, tight end, kicker, and defense. When are we gonna change that crap, though?
Well, you don't like the defense?
I don't know. There's no strategy to that, man.
Well, everybody's different. I mean, I know there's a guy in this league who won, pretty much made it to the playoffs off his defense alone. So
Okay.
yeah, yep. It happens. All right. So what's up? You want to just go ahead and jump right in?
Yeah, let's do it. So we're gonna so this mock draft, what we're gonna do is that we're gonna have the computer pick. So check is gonna pick one, I'm gonna pick six, and then the computer is gonna pick the rest of the spots. And then as we go through it, we'll kind of share a strategy based on available players, and we'll go from there.
Okay, sounds good. So I got the draft board on the screen right now, and just so everybody understands, it's not the order that we're going to be drafting in. I'm going to go ahead. I'm going to do a randomizer here. The computer is going to pick the other spots, and we're just going to break it down and talk to you a little bit based on where we are, how our, what our strategy will become, what we may be thinking, what we're looking to do in these positions, and different things of that nature. So let's go ahead and let's get it kicked off. Just give me 1 second over here. And go to draft settings, draft order. By the way, this is the Sleeper app. If anybody's interested in doing some of the stuff like this with their friends or anything like that, this is sleeper.com is where you can get this from. All right, so let's go ahead. Let's see what happens. Let's randomize it.
Plug in there.
Oh, I got the second spot. You got the 11th spot. Oh boy, talk about crazy.
Spot I got right now, right?
It's definitely going to be a whole different strategy based on that.
Yeah, sure.
All right. So over here, you guys can see there'll be a list of players based on the settings we selected and where the computer thinks they should go, different things of that nature. So you guys will be able to see that as we go. And all right, I guess we'll go ahead and kick it off.
Let's go, man. Let's do it.
All right.
Ooh, I wonder who's going to go first.
I know. It's definitely a shocker, right? Who's it going to be? Is it going to be McCaffrey? Of course it's going to be McCaffrey. So now you're looking at myself. It's the number 2 overall pick. There's really not a lot of options, honestly, in my opinion, for this pick. I mean, it's pretty much going to be what? Cook, Kamara, or Henry, right?
Basically, yep.
I mean, so it's, being in the second position, early in the draft like this, it sets me up for a good, a good decision here. I definitely think, I'm not going to spend too much time. In my opinion, I got to go with the player who is probably has the best opportunity and the most well-rounded with that opportunity to be able to put up a lot of points. I think that has to be Dalvin Cook.
That.
Go ahead.
No, I was going to say before you said that, I was just going to say there are people out there that think that there's 2 tiers. McCaffrey and then Cooks and then everybody else. So, I thought you were going to go with Henry.
I definitely agree.
Yeah.
Kamara doesn't get a full workload like Cook does. I know Cook gets hurt, and Henry can't receive the ball. So it's one of those things. I think you definitely got to go Cook. I think it's pretty obvious there. So then we got Kamara, Barkley, Henry, Taylor, Chubb. The first receiver off the board goes to team 8, which is Tyreek Hill. Then you get Elliott and Jones. And then it falls on sensitive guy over there.
That's me.
So when you look at this board right now, right, what are you thinking?
Well, I didn't definitely bet, Aaron Jones went there early, which might happen. I actually been thinking about that. But Nick Chubb at 7 is kind of what surprised me there. So just looking at these and having
Remember, Nick
Devon,
Chubb was a top 3 finisher last year.
I don't think he was. He
Yes, he
was
was at
hurt
running
like
back.
5 or 6 weeks out.
Huh?
He was out for a long time, like 5, 6 weeks. He was out.
I'll have to relook it up, but I'm pretty sure I
Yeah.
saw him rank as top 3 in fantasy football.
Mm. Either way, I mean, none of the you know um mock drafts or what's it called? Forgot the freaking word. None of the stuff that I've been doing show Nick Chubb going on first. But either way, that's just definitely a surprise there. So it gives me an opportunity to go with Devante Adams, Trevor Kelsey. Those will be my two players right there. I mean, I could go with Diggs. It just Diggs to me, it's like he did it 1 year, and am I gonna really draft him over Devante Adams, a guy that's been doing it for quite a few years? Which the only problem with Devante Adams is just whether Rogers is gonna show up or not.
Yeah, and that's the
But
big
if
question.
yeah, but even at that, I mean, you remember about 2, 3 years ago, Aaron Rodgers got hurt, and Devante Adams was doing good with. Don't even remember the quarterback they had.
Well, yeah, I was going to say Devontae
Mhm.
Adams is, he's one of those players that you're going to be able to make something happen with him. I don't care who's throwing the ball. There's sometimes guys that are just that good.
Yeah. Now here's the only thing with this, right? So I have the 11 pick. So one thing that I thought about was I could easily go with Devante Adams, but at the end of the day, I got the 11 pick. So I pick again, number 12 will pick twice. So technically, I could not pick Devante Adams, go with the best player right there, in my opinion, which will be Kelsey. And then still on my way back, I will assume the number 12 will pick Adams and Diggs. And that leads me with somebody like Metcalf or Hopkins. So I'd rather start with Kelsey and that receiver than go with like Devante Adams and Stephon Diggs. That's just me because I have a huge advantage at tight end over everybody else. So I think that's actually what I'm going to do. So I'm going to go Kelsey right here.
And you're right. They went Adams Diggs. You called it. Nice job. I didn't know, I don't think the game, and I could be wrong. I hope the computer doesn't just draft by best available player.
It could. I mean,
It could, but I thought when I've done some of these mock drafts, it wasn't quite exactly like that, but we'll have to wait and see. All right.
Yeah,
so what are you looking to do now? At this point, Kelsey fell to you at 11, right?
Yeah.
Which I thought I've seen some of these, he gets taken earlier than that. So I know that changes your draft strategy probably from what you're originally
100%.
thinking, right? You might be thinking wide receiver still maybe that late, or running back, but you're definitely not necessarily thinking Kelsey because you figure he might go in the top 10. In a lot of leagues, home leagues especially, he is going top 10.
Yeah. And I think it's just because essentially he's another receiver, so I think it's easier to draft another receiver in the 5th, 6th round than go with a tight end like Kelsey,
Yeah, absolutely.
Somebody that's going to produce. So
what are you trying to pair up with him then? What is your thought process?
So here's point depends, because in our league, one thing we failed to mention is the running backs are very valuable, right? We get quarter of a point, per carry. So that's something that, I mean, when you really think about it, somebody gets 20 carries in one game, that's an extra 5 points. So it is a little bit more valuable, or at least it matches up a little bit with our PPR, as far as receivers. So I got pretty good options here. I mean, I could go with Metcalf or Hopkins, which are, they could be top options or receivers. But because of the fact that we're in a PPR league and the fact that our league, especially in our league, we have that quarter of a point, I'm going to go with Eckler here. And I'm just going to pass on everybody else because I think he's just the best available at that point.
I definitely like that strategy. If you're going to go a late round running back, why not go for one? And I don't mean late round. I'm just saying there's a lot of running backs off the board. Why not go for one who, yes, there's going to be some durability risks, but is also going to give you that high upside on receiving ability. I mean, you remember those first few weeks last year, he was blowing the competition out the water in fantasy points.
Yeah.
It's just, he got hurt. He's a smaller back. Those things happen.
Yeah.
But if they can, I think that's why I think the one thing they are doing over there is they're trying to find a way to get him a piece like they want to use him like Kamara, right? I think they're trying to take Eckler and make him a Kamara type runner where we're going to have you out there, but we're going to limit you a little bit. You'll still put up great numbers, but they're trying to find that number 2 back to be able to step in like Ingram did and like Murray's doing now and kind of take some of the beating sometimes.
Yeah. And, I'm glad you mentioned that because, for those that don't know, the coaching staff in, Los Angeles, they brought them up from the Saints. So they're a lot of people are talking about how they're going to imitate the Saints, back when they had, Drew Brees, Michael Thomas, Kamara. So that is a good option. So yeah, I didn't select yet because I want to give some time to talk about it. Once I click it, the computer's going to start selecting. So here we go. You ready?
Yeah. All right. So we got Metcalf coming up the board next. Hopkins, Mahomes with the Hill pair up. I get that. Jefferson went next, then Brown, then Akers, then Mixon, and then Ridley. So it's definitely a round of wide receivers in round 2, which it was primarily running backs in round 1. So it definitely is a switch up there. What do you think about those last few picks that just dropped out?
Yeah, I think, going back, I'm glad that I actually got Keller because I didn't even realize that, bunch of receivers coming up, and he was probably the best running back out there. But I like that Patrick Mahomes, Tyreek Hill combination. I think it's super early to take Mahomes, but, why not, right? If you're going to put up points, you might as well do it with the number 1 quarterback and one of the best receivers in the league. I'm surprised that, Justin Jefferson and AJ Brown went ahead of Cam Akers and Joe Mixon. Again, I guess those two teams already have Taylor and Chubb, so they're just pairing those up with number 1 running back, number 1 receiver.
Yeah.
But I think I have a lot of expectations for Cam Akers and Joe Mixon. So I think for a team like to have Barkley and Henry to pair up with somebody else that could have a potential to be a top 5 back, that's a heck of a team.
Oh, it's definitely a
like,
great start.
Mhm.
And when you look at the running backs right now, for instance, when we're talking about my pick, J.K. Dobbins, Najee Harris, Antonio Gibson, DeAndre Swift, there's definitely a teardrop there, right? If you go look at receivers, because maybe I want to do something there, there's also a bit of a teardrop I feel there too. Michael Thomas, Keenan Allen, Allen Robinson, and some of those other guys are there. And I do have that come around pick coming up. So it's kind of hard on what to do, when we're looking at, do you go wide receiver? Or do you just go ahead and go running back and know that you have a workhorse in Dalvin Cook and, and maybe take a chance on like a Najee Harris? What do you think about that?
Yeah, no, I think there's some good options right there. It's tough, man. J.K. Dobbins, they haven't ranked ahead of like Harris and Gibson, and I've seen other websites that they haven't. They have Dobbins even in the 3rd and 4th round, like so that's a huge one right there. I don't know if the ADP was so low, but yeah, I don't know, man. I think especially in our league, a lot of people have been talking up Harris, just for the potential on that Pittsburgh offense, and then Antonio Gibson, man, the freak. So
Yeah.
but at the end of the day, you also have Greg Kittle. There's the injury risk, so there's always with him, but he's a monster. He could potentially.
Yeah. I think my one concern with Gibson is we don't know, exactly what that offense is going to look like with Fitzpatrick. He has his up days and his down days. So it's a bit of a roller coaster with him. So I think it can affect the running game a little bit. And, I don't know how he is throwing to the running back exactly. I don't have that stat on me or anything, but
Yeah.
I think I'm going to take the risk. I think I'm going to go Najee Harris and go running back, and kind of just shore it up, because if this guy is the workhorse in Pittsburgh and their offensive line did get better, he's poised to have a really good season.
Yeah.
So I think, going with a little bit of an unknown, I think we'll go ahead and
Yeah, and he's always, he's a rookie, so there's always that risk. I did look up at, Bell when he was a rookie, and he didn't do as well. I think the Harris comes with a much higher pedigree, running back wise. So he could have the potential. So, and Pittsburgh is always known to just have one running back. So
Yep.
yeah, I think that was a great pick.
all right.
And
So
you're back
then
again.
George Kittle, Michael Thomas, they were the next ones off the board. So at this point, I think I look at things a little bit different.
Let me ask you something. So now that you picked that, do you think that you would have rather go with the receiver, knowing that you still have these 4 running backs options instead of Harris, or do you think Harris has a better potential that there's 4 running backs? Make sense?
Yeah, well,
Is
the
he-
thing is I wasn't concerned about the players that are to be picked. All right. So it was one of those things. There could be a max of 2 receivers off the board. And when I'm looking at it, one of those the one receiver that I would have wanted from the beginning, if I had the option, would have been Keenan Allen. I think, you know, they're poised to have a big year. They can get some big things done. So I'm definitely excited about the opportunity that they have over there in LA. And so I'm pretty high up on that, on Keenan Allen. So if this was this, you know, kind of worked out good to come back around.
So you think that the options that you have when you pick up Harris, right? Because George Kittle went in there, so your receivers are still there. The running backs are still there that you were looking at when you pick a 211. So my point was, you know, would you think that Keenan Allen would have been a safer pick than Michael Thomas, or it doesn't matter, you know,
I
because you were much happier having Harris
I think I'm happier overall having Harris and in this
passing
league.
on Thomas.
You know, I think it definitely was. It's about getting, you know, if you can get established running backs, it definitely can help, especially when the tier of receivers are still where they're at. Now, this is where the dilemma comes in, though, because as far as tight ends go, there is a tier drop off now,
Yeah.
right? So it's one of those things. Do you go ahead and do you just pick up the tight end? And like you said, it plays at a receiver and you kind of shore yourself up with a really good tight end. And I think actually that's probably the way I would go, because after this, the tight ends are a little risky and they're a little bit of a drop off.
Yeah, and you just have to be okay with knowing that you're not going to have a receiver, you know, number one receiver for, you know, quite a while.
Correct.
So, all right,
Because there
so
goes a lot of receivers again, right?
yeah,
Now,
J.K. Dobbins. Yep.
I do
Go
like how
ahead.
you see, and I think we have more of this in our league probably, but you got the Barkley, Mixon, Swift, you got the Henry, Akers, and Gibson. I mean, those are some good
Scary.
positions there.
Yeah, those are scary, but that's the thing when you pick, you know, tight ends and receivers. You know, you get teams that get three running backs, and you know, if they're all hit, man, that's a tough. It'll be a tough team. I mean, you know,
But even
so
if not, I mean, the thing they have going for them is a little bit of depth, because God forbid one of them gets nicked up. I mean, you look at the Barkley, Mixon, Swift combo, you could be without all of them at week 4. You know what I mean? You never know. The
yeah.
Henry, Akers, Gibson and Akers can be banged up at times. So we'll see how that plays out. But I definitely say, you know, going back and looking, that's probably a great strategy and something I could have probably went with. But being that this is a mock draft, I wanted to try something a little bit different.
Oh
But
yeah, 100%.
I was definitely tempted to go Gibson. I'll be honest with you, with my 3.5 there. But I want to
Instead
do
of
something a
Waller,
little bit different.
instead of Waller.
Yeah,
Gotcha.
definitely
Yeah.
instead of Waller. Do 3 running
Yeah.
backs. There's still a lot of receivers I like in the later rounds, so
Yeah,
I
for
feel
sure.
very comfortable with that.
All right, so just to recap, so Darren Waller won with your pick. Then we have J.K. Dobbins, DeAndre Swift, Antonio Gibson. So the three running backs, you know. Then we got receivers: McLaurin, Julio Jones, Mike Evans, and Clyde Edwards, running back, Keenan Allen, receiver, and then goes back to me. So just
Yep.
to recap, I have Travis Kelce in the first round, Eckler in the second round. So then I look at my options right now. You know, we have Josh Jacob, Miles Sanders, Allen Robinson, Josh Allen, Chris Carson, David Montgomery. So you know, a lot of good players out there. I guess, you know, trying to decide here what I go with. I mean, Josh Jacob and Miles Sanders, if you guys remember last year, I mean, these were like first round picks. So, you know, very surprised to see them right here in the, you know, the end of the third round. I mean, that kind of tells you how running back just, you know, they go up and down based on situation. So, um, hmm. So, you know, third round, I mean, you know, there's always that itch, right, to get that quarterback right there, right? Have a star quarterback. You know, there's always that. It's just very risky because, as you can see, you know, it can put you in a bad situation. Um, and again, I don't have, you know, receivers right now, so my number one receiver at this point will be Allen Robinson if I go with that. Or I can always, you know, it's Amari Cooper. So let me see. Hmm.
Man,
I think
you
at this
definitely
point,
got Amari Cooper, you got Chris Godwin. I mean, there's some receiver options out there. DJ
yeah,
Moore.
yeah, there's definitely
Yeah.
receiver options. I'm just, you know, I think again because of that pick that I have, the 11 pick, you know, coming back, you know, I had kind of my opinion, you know, I had select the best player at that point, which a lot of people could say Josh Allen, but you know, I'm not gonna go with quarterback right here in the third round,
All
especially
right.
against some
So
good
what do you
players.
got?
So
Time's running out.
I'm going to go with, I'm gonna go with Miles Sanders.
Okay.
I'm just gonna go with running back right there. I'm really not a big lover of Josh Jacobs. I mean, I like him and everything, but between those two, I'm just gonna go with Miles Sanders.
I definitely get
Go
the
again.
Jacobs thing with what's his name, Kenyon Drake getting over there now, so you don't know what that's gonna look like.
Yeah, I mean, and
So
he's a good player and everything. I think there was a lot of hype last year with him. I think my decision with Miles Sanders is just because of that quarterback right there. They
yeah,
say the running, quarterbacks always help running. So, we'll see how that goes. So here we go. So I'm in the 4th round. I still don't have a number one receiver. Allen Robinson went off the board. So I have plenty of options here. Running back
yep.
with
You only
Chris
lost one
Carson,
of those
Montgomery.
few options out there, so that's
hmm
good.
So then I got Mary Cooper. Not a big lover of that player. One thing I got to think right here is that I'm not going to come back until the end of the 5th round. So if I wait to pick my number one receiver here, who knows what's available at that
Yeah, yeah.
point.
You're definitely going down
So
the list
mm,
there.
killing somebody here. So I think at this point, I mean, man, it's a tough one. I don't really like Amari Cooper that much, man. I think there's still been too many mouths to feed. DJ Moore, who knows what's gonna happen there? Adam Thielen, Robert Woods. Mm-hmm. I'm gonna do something crazy here. I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna go with another running back. Don't like any of those series.
Well, there you go. If
I'm
you don't
gonna
like it,
go. Yeah.
that needs to be a lesson for everybody. Don't draft strictly based on
Mm-hmm.
what you need, right? Because he's over here about to pick up a receiver he doesn't like, and maybe waste on a player he does like just because he feels he needs to get a receiver in that spot. And that's not the
Yeah.
way you should be drafting. Because if you're doing that, you're doing something wrong. If you're like, man, I got to draft something
Yeah. I
here, because
think
then
right
you're going to
now,
be reaching.
yeah, I'm gonna buy on what David Montgomery did last year. At the end of the year, and then hope that the uh, guy from Ohio State wins the quarterback position. That might help him a little. So,
Not a bad pick. And as you see, you got in early because there's a host of running backs coming off the board. You got Carson, Eifert, and then the quarterback run actually hit. You got Allen, Murray, and Jackson all getting ripped up off the board. So we just had a nice quarterback run in the 4th. Kyle Pitts also got taken off the board by team 8. So yeah, there's definitely some things going on there. So
yeah.
now I come up and, once again, I get those back to back picks. So I feel pretty comfortable about where I'm at overall. Now, the question is, do I look at going quarterback at one of these two picks so I can feel like I'm getting a top echelon quarterback? Or do I just wait and get a quarterback later on and maybe fill in some other need positions? When we look at the running back options, none of them really, stand out as like somebody I need to pick up. Kareem Hunt, we know what he's doing. He's, sort of a backup there. James Robinson, we don't know what's going to happen there. Miles Gaskins,
So
like nobody screams out at me. When we go to
yeah.
receivers, a little bit different as well. What I'm looking at,
So question for you here, right?
yeah, go
So
ahead.
and we know things could change differently, but you did take Darren Waller with the 3rd round, and is that a huge difference drop off right there between Mark Andrews and Waller, in your
Um,
opinion?
I don't think it's a huge drop off. I definitely think there is a tier drop off. Mark Andrews is going to be the top of that other tier. So, it would, like I said, I went for something different. I normally probably wouldn't have went Waller there. But I just want to
Which
see what
is
my
fine. We
team,
just testing it out. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
what
No,
my
I know.
team would have kind of looked at. But yeah, I agree that, there's definitely some other options out there to be able to go with. It's not like a Kelsey necessarily where you just, what you're getting because of the quarterback play, right? Derek
Right.
Carr's a good quarterback, but if he goes down or something happens, you just you don't know, and so that can always put a little bit of risk versus reward
Right.
for you.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, this is the problem that I'm at because there's nobody I really love right now as far as my options go. Right, I don't love my running back selection. I don't love my receiver selection, but I haven't picked a receiver yet. And then when I'm looking at my quarterbacks, you know, yeah, I mean, there's a quarterback on there I kind of like, and I think he's going to have a breakout year. So I think I might do something a little different here, and I might just go ahead and sure up the quarterback that I'm looking for and go ahead and snag me some Dak Prescott. And then there goes Russell Wilson. So in that instance, if I would have waited, I wouldn't have gotten the
Been gone.
quarterback I wanted. But now what I'm able to do is there was a receiver I was looking at as a possible pickup as my number one, but I wanted to have a pairing. right?
Yeah.
So I wanted to make sure I paired him with the quarterback. But like you said, it worries me because there's a lot of mouth to feed.
Lamb. Coming
That's
off the
right, CeeDee
board.
Lamb. So I figure, you know what, do a little pair up there, see how that breaks out. So then we got Mark Andrews going in the 5th round at the 503. We got DJ Moore, TJ Hawkinson. That's another name that people are very, very high on this year for tight ends. We got Galladay, we got Hunt, we got Woods, Lockett, and Beckham. And then it falls back on you. And when we're looking at the receivers, there are still some okay options. Adam Thielen's out there. Like, it's funny how Adam Thielen suddenly, because of Justin Jefferson, just fell off the earth.
Yep.
Like, nobody's talking about him. I don't quite understand how,
No.
he was literally one of the top 3 receivers being drafted. And now, because of Justin Jefferson, he's all the way at the, he's
Yeah.
what, 52 ranked or something crazy?
Yeah, yeah,
So,
yeah, and it turned out pretty good. I think at this spot, I mean, there's some good spot, good position, good players right there. As far as like receivers and running backs, but being the fact that I got no receivers at all, I gotta go. I really would love to select Chase right there. I just receiver, rookie receiver, there's a lot of mouths to fit there, so I just want to go with something that somewhat gave me some points, and I think Thielen is the answer there. I think he'll be gone if I let him go, for the next one. So
yeah. And you might be able to get Chase on the follow through.
And for me, I think he works out pretty good because the fact that I don't have any receivers and getting somebody like that, like a veteran like that, second best, first or second best option in Minnesota, but still a good player, And last year he was hurt, you remember, a little bit here and there, but here we go. Let's see how it plays out.
Ooh. So Chase went.
Almost got it. Yeah.
This okay, that's why he's risky. I'm looking at this guy's team 12, and for a second I'm like, how are you going to risk 2 rookie receivers on your team? Right? That's a pretty big risk. But then you look, you got Adams, Diggs, Robinson. Okay, yeah. Imagine if these 2 guys jump up. Well, guess what? He's going to be needing to make some trades because all he has is Josh Jacobs at running back. That's just a crazy look there.
Yeah, that's true. So, going back again, being like number 10, 11, and 12, I think those are great spots, even 1, 2, and 3. And you pick 2, right? No, number 1, 2. So I think those are good spots that, you got to think about like how much you have to wait until your next pick. And sometimes this plays out a lot on, oh, I know that this player is going on the 7th round. Yeah, but that might be early 7th round. So you're not going to get that player. So you might have to do some.
He might not come all the way back to the 7-11.
Yeah, so you might have to do some reaching in there. So now, right now, knowing that I have 3 running backs, a great tight end, best tight end, a good receiver. So I'm going to look at the receivers right there. I got Brandon Ayuk, Juju, Deontay Johnson, Higgins, DJ Shark, Curlin Sutton, and then look at my running backs, bunch of what ifs. Looking at quarterback, I guess the big drop off right there from Herbert maybe to Rogers. So I could probably go Herbert, but I'm not gonna do that because I am lacking receivers, and I think this guy has a good option to be a great player with his quarterback coming back. I'm gonna go to Cincinnati and pick Higgins, man. Even though I'm reaching, somewhat.
Yeah.
I don't. He's not.
Somewhat, but it's definitely I can see the pick. I think. I'll definitely say I think people are a little bit too low on Higgins this year all of a sudden because of Chase. Like, I guess they forgot what he was doing last year, and now he's a year, further into it. So,
and it's just based on and it's just based more on like, Brandon Ayuk. I mean, I think he's a great player, but Samuel was hurt last year. What's the tight end?
Kittle.
Kittle was hurt as well, so I don't know if he did more of that damage, where they were out. So I'm gonna go with Higgins, just trying to put up points, match up with my running backs and my tight end. So see how it plays out. So, look, Justin Herbert, right? I knew that was the other pick.
Oh yeah, he was about to get taken. Mm-hmm. So then we got James Robinson, Juju Smith Jr., Brandon Ayuk, David Johnson, Aaron Rodgers, Melvin Gordon, Leonard Fournette. And I think this will be. We'll go to 7 rounds. We'll end it at 7, and we'll just do a little bit of a recap. So these are going to be my last 2 picks. So I'm going to be looking at it and seeing. This is still part of my starting roster. I have to think of it that way. So I can always go running back and fill them in for my flex position. You got Myles Gaskins, Javonte Williams, who seems like he's going to be the starter. Then you got the Kenyon Drakes and Connors and people like that. Or then you got the wide receivers. You got the DJ Sharks, the Suttons, like we talked about, the Claypools, the Waddles, the Judys, right? So, I mean, when you're looking at it, there's not a huge, great market of starting receivers either.
Yeah.
So it kind of puts me in a dilemma a little bit on what I want to look to do as far as things go. So, I
And
really would
in our league, we play 3 receivers.
correct. So it's a much deeper
Yeah.
need than normal.
And knowing that CeeDee Lamb is your number 1 receiver right
Yeah, for sure.
now. Tough decisions.
I was looking for a player. I was just curious if there was a receiver I was thinking about, but I'm curious if they're further down just for the hell of it. But I don't see it. All right. I'm probably definitely going to go receiver here. I think that's the smartest play because I think there's some running backs that are left that I don't mind picking up as a third option. So I'm definitely going to go receiver here. And I think you got to kind of go, man, it's tough here what I really want to go with, but I think I'm going to go with Cortland Sutton. I believe in what he can do. I think he's a better receiver. At least he's shown better things than Jerry Jeudy. And I think, he could have a decent year if they can start doing a little bit with it.
Yep.
Gaskins, Claypool went next. Claypool was an interesting one for me. I like the idea of him, but I don't know if Big Ben can throw the ball down the field. I mean, what are you thinking?
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, and then I think CeeDee Lamb and Claypool are very similar players, which that's what I would have probably not gone with Claypool because you have, teams that, have 3 good receivers. They like to play a lot of 3 receiver sets. And you could argue that CeeDee Lamb is the best receiver in Dallas, and you could argue that Claypool is the best receiver. But because of the fact that that will be your second pick, I like to go with somebody that, Sutton was great. I think last year he should have a good year. He got hurt. There's a lot of high expectations for him, but a lot of people are sleeping on him because of Judy, because of the quarterback. You have no idea, who's going to be the quarterback there. So I think it's a great pick, man. Big receiver, can put up a lot of points for sure.
So I think for this pick, I'm going to do something. I was looking at some of the receivers, and I'm cool with some of them being my third receiver. So I think I'm going to do something a little bit different, and I'm going to go running back, and I'm going to go Denver. And I'm going to help out, I'm going to take another chance at another rookie running back. And, this is a very risky way for me to play it. But I guess I figured like I got Dalvin Cook established as that guy, and I trust that he's going to be my workhorse, that right. I can kind of take a stab in the dark. Could be a great flex player. Maybe doesn't pan out, but one of the 2 guys there at running back should definitely hit. Right. Yeah. And that's, so I have to play it a little bit riskier going with in my opinion, a risk with Harris so early. So I threw that in. I figured that was a good risk reward because some of the other running backs, if you're really looking at them that were out there, what is their ceilings? Right. Yeah. When you look at Ronald Jones, James Conner, David Johnson, right? There's a lot of guys whose ceilings seem limited. You just, at least I think sometimes when we're drafting, it's the unknown that makes us do something different.
Yeah. And you have no idea. I mean, Ronald Jones, there's another mouth to be there now. James Conner. Yeah, you really don't know. I mean, Sermon, could be another option if he actually has if he takes that running game in San Francisco. So, but yeah, no, I think you're fine. I think that's a good option. So here I am, just 2 receivers, 3 running backs, and a tight end. So don't have a quarterback yet. We're in the 7th round, so a lot of people start freaking out right now, right? When you look at quarterbacks, because you say, man, who am I gonna have, right? So it got me thinking about running back. There's one guy right there that, based on my team and based on what he last year, I think he's gonna be my pick. But I'm gonna just check the receivers to see. Waddle, I mean, he could be pretty good at the beginning of the season in Miami just because what's his face is hurt, and I keep forgetting names. They came from Houston. You guys should know Jarvis Landry, Will Fuller. Yeah, 2 more picks now. Malcolm Brown, Tyler Boyd. Yeah, a lot of guys that are not very exciting. I don't see the big drop off. The big drop off between not picking them right now. Running back, same team, the same scenario that you have. So I think I'm just gonna go with this guy who was killing it last year before he got hurt. I think a lot of people might be sleeping on him because of that. But I think the fact that I can pair him up with Higgins, gives me huge time advantage. So here we go.
Joe Burrow.
Joe Burrow.
Yeah, I like that. That's another one of those stacks that we talk about. So, sometimes when you're drafting, you want to do these things. We call what we stacking. So, you're going to get, if Joe Burrow throws a touchdown, there's a high percentage, one of three, maybe, on average, that it's going to go to Higgins. So now you've increased your opportunity that if Burrow plays well, then Higgins is probably going to play well.
Yeah,
right.
especially the fact that the receiver position that I'm lacking. I need to try to overcome that part a little bit. So, but again, I think you're doing, just the fact that what you were saying that people kind of start filling up their position based on like, oh, I need a receiver, oh, I need a running back, and that sometimes could get you in big trouble.
Yeah. Yeah, you got to pick best available sometimes, or somebody you like that's close to that. So let's go recap. Team number 1 got McCaffrey, Kittle, Thomas, Wilson, Kupp, Gaskins, and Claypool. What do you think about that team?
I think it's pretty good. I mean, starting with McCaffrey, of course, that's a huge advantage. I mean, Michael Thomas, number 1 receiver. I mean, kind of uncertain right now based on the quarterback. But I mean, you know who Michael Thomas was 2-3 years ago. So
Oh yeah.
There's a lot of potential there. Cooper Cup, having Matthew Stafford now, that could be another monster. As far as his running backs, I think pairing up Gaskin with McCaffrey, I think it's pretty good. There's a lot of hope in Miami for Gaskin. So I think I like it. Russell Wilson, he'll be doing good the first 6 weeks of the season.
Here's the thing. But here's the thing. He legitimate. If you look at his team, I will say he legitimate has an opportunity to have the number 1 player in a position for the 3 major positions and 4 almost, right? McCaffrey could easily be number 1 as running back. Kittle could easily be number 1 at receiver, right?
Yep.
Thomas or a tight end. Thomas could easily be the number 1 wide receiver again. Imagine if Jameis comes out and starts throwing deep balls and stuff like that. Like we don't know. And then we got Russell Wilson. Listen, it's legitimate. He could just not slow down, and keep on firing out there and be number 1 overall. So, I mean, there's definitely a nice rhythm to what he did on his draft. But it is risky because if they don't hit, his play, his depth is not going to be great.
Yeah.
Let's go over to team. Go ahead.
No, I was just saying, like, when you get to draft McCaffrey, I mean, you're talking about 2 players in one. It gives you a lot of more,
flexibility.
Flexibility,
I get
because of that. Just like you say with Alvin Cook, I feel those 2 players, you can actually be carrying 2 running backs in one.
So I want to talk about team 4 and 5, right? Because they had a fairly similar draft to a degree, and this is more of what we see in our league. So I'm just curious what you think. You got the Barkley, Mixon, Swift, Lamar Jackson, DJ Moore, Melvin Gordon, and Jerry Jeudy mix, and then you have the Derrick Henry, Cam Akers, Gibson, Goodwin, Hawkinson, Rodgers, and Cooks. Which one do you like better?
I like the sorry, I was just looking at something. I thought we were going different direction. Yeah, I think the Barkley, just because it's very tough, but I think I like the Barkley just because if Barkley hits, man, that's a huge thing. Joe Mixon, there's a lot of hope for him this year. There's no more Giovanni Bernard, DeAndre Swift. They have. I mean, those 3 running backs are great. I think any of them. I think the running backs, I think it's very, very level. The 2 teams. So I could pick either or. I think what did it for me is just that Lamar Jackson, DJ Moore, and Jerry Jeudy. I don't like the Melvin Gordon pick there, but I think his receivers, have a lot of more potential than like Brandon Cooks and Goodwin. At Tampa Bay receivers, man, it's just hard to predict. But I think if DJ Moore, with the new quarterback there, big time arm, and Jerry Jeudy, there's a lot of hope for him too. Great route runner. I like that team better. Lamar Jackson, man, if he goes back to what he did 2 years ago, plus those 3 running backs, a lot of points right there.
Yeah, listen, Lamar has a lot of potential of what he could be this year. And some people are down on him. I'm not one of them. I think that Lamar has the opportunity to really get out there and just dominate the league again. But we'll see. People were making fun of me not long ago. So I said, I feel like having having time to be with the training camp, be around the players, things like that. He's like, oh, what about everybody else? But still, it's not the same, I feel like. So.
And I was just gonna say that team 4 right there, if he were to go with like Courtland Sutton right there or Claypool, I'm trying to make a pick right here because it's gonna kick me out. But, whatever. Anyway, so as far as like team for them picking Melvin Gordon, you know, ahead of like Cortland Sutton, knowing that you already had those 3 running backs, I would have gone with that, you know, that route instead of picking Melvin Gordon. I don't know what they were thinking at that point.
Yeah, well, it is also a computer.
But yeah, what are you thinking, computer? I mean,
Yeah, so I mean, let's not beat it up too much.
Oh no, I'm gonna beat it up. So either way, I just have to do a pick right there. I didn't like that, so I'm kind of hurting because that's not my team. But yeah, don't ignore Ronald Jones. I would have never done that.
That's all right. So overall, I thought this was fun. What do you think of this? Doing something a little different, getting on here, making some picks, talking about some players. You know, opened up some conversation. What do you think?
No, I think it's great. I think we can probably get a couple more guys to do this. I guess the big difference is who's willing to share their thoughts with everybody, you know.
Well, yeah, but the thing is too, I mean, we're 40 minutes in and, you know, I guess we could do like, if we were to do more, we would have to limit it to like a couple like rounds. Yeah. And, you know, there's some sites out there I saw from some other shows that I watch that taught that there's ways to do like, okay, you can only pick like the top 24 players aren't available. So you have to pick with the, you know, and different things like that. So we'll do more. We're just having some fun. We were just sitting around, want to get on, do a little mock draft, talk a little bit about our thought process and our theories. Leave a comment down below though. Let us know, who do you think got the better draft? Was it Cook, Harris, Waller, Prescott, Lamb, Sutton, Williams? Or was it Kelsey, Eckler, Sanders, Montgomery, Thielen, Higgins, Burrow? I'll be honest with you. I might have to vote for your team.
You think so?
Yeah, I mean, as a whole group, I would probably say I like yours a little bit better.
I like it. I mean, I like your team too, man. You know, we just like each other's team.
So
I think we have somewhat the same team because of that tight end pick, you know, which is a big difference, you know.
Well, I think what it is though, it's also where we're placed, right? I'm second one from the top, you're second one from the bottom, so we have very similar like pick strategies going on because you know you're gonna get that turnaround real quick. So I think that also had something to do with it.
And, you know, you pair up your quarterback with your receiver. We both have top 3 tight ends, and you know, I think it's a pretty good deal, man.
Yeah,
it's fun.
All right. So we're gonna go ahead and get out of here. Let us know what you guys think. Don't forget to subscribe, like it, all that kind of good stuff. And until next time, see you guys.
Woke up, then I got down. I told you I don't play around. I'm coming, better watch out. I'm coming, you better watch out.